You know how some people say that life has a twisted sense of humor? Well, I never believed that until the day my daughter started school. It was the first week of resumption. My 6-year-old Zara had just moved to a new private primary school. In Lekki, it was a big change for both of us. New uniforms, new routines, new hopes. As a single mum, I had worked overtime, juggled freelancing and part-time admin jobs, just to make sure she got the best education I could afford. I was proud, nervous, but proud. The school, Sunrise Grove Academy, was picture perfect, you know. The kind big blue gates, polished tiles, teachers in crisp Ankara uniforms, and a giant smiling mural of cartoon animals greeting you at the entrance. On her first day, Zara clutched my hand tightly as we walked through the school gate. I was doing my best to put on a brave face. Inside, I was panicking. Would she make friends? Would she miss me? Would the teachers like her? I walked her to her classroom, Primary 1, Safarand. There she was, the teacher, tall, fair-skinned, hairstyled in a sleek low bun, wearing a navy blue dress and sensible heels. She smiled at Zara, and then turned to me with a practiced warmth. "Good morning, Ma. You must be Zara's mummy. I'm Mrs. Alec. I'll be her class teacher." I smiled politely. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Alec," but something about her face, her voice, it felt familiar, uncomfortably familiar, like that eerie déjà vu you get when you run into someone you once dreamt about. We didn't talk long. She welcomed Zara inside, and I left, assuming it was just one of those weird "have we met before" moments. I pushed it out of my mind. For the rest of the day, I focused on my errands and my freelance admin gig. But that name, Alec, it kept echoing. Later that evening, I scrolled through the school's website to check out the teachers, and that's when it hit me, like a slap to the chest. There she was, Mrs. Tiwa Aleki, class teacher, Primary 1, Sapphire, wife of Bayo, Alake. My heart stopped, my stomach flipped. I blinked twice, scrolled again, looked at the photo on the screen, zoomed in. It was her. Tiwa, my ex-husband's new wife, the same woman I had only seen once before at court. When I finalized the divorce from Bayo, she had been standing beside him, silently supportive, smug even. That day was supposed to be the final nail in the coffin of that toxic chapter of my life. But now, here she was, my daughter's teacher, my daughter Zara, was going to be taught, supervised, and evaluated by the woman who now lived in the house I once decorated, who now cooked in my old kitchen, who kissed my daughter's father goodnight. "I wish I could tell you," I screamed, or called the school, to demand a change of class. But no, I just sat there, frozen, phone in hand, mouth slightly open, feeling violated by fate, and the worst part, she knew. She must have known. She looked me in the eye and pretended we'd never met. You never really prepare for the kind of emotional whiplash I felt that evening. Not even your worst breakup, or your best friend's betrayal, can train your heart for a moment like that. I sat at the dining table, the hum of the ceiling fan above me, the only sound in the house. Zara was in the living room, her tiny legs curled up, watching Sophia the First. She was excited about her new school, her new friends, completely unaware that the woman who handed her coloring books and taught her the days of the week was also her father's new wife. I stared at the screen again. The school website hadn't changed. Neither had the truth. Tiwa Alek, B.Ed., 7 years teaching experience. There was even a cute quote beside her name. "I teach from the heart, not just from the book." I wanted to laugh. This woman had my daughter in her classroom. Every weekday morning, a child whose face was a perfect blend of mine and Bayo's. And never once did she say, "By the way, I know your dad." Was she playing a game? Was This her idea of, what, superiority? Getting back at me for something I didn't even know I did. Or maybe, just maybe, she wanted peace. But let's rewind. Let me take you to the beginning, to when I first heard her name. Tiwa Bayo had mentioned her once during our separation. Long before the divorce was final. We were in the middle of a heated argument, something about child support, as usual, and he let it slip. You act like I'm some villain. Meanwhile, there's someone who sees me for who I really am, he said, with that smug grin I hated. I rolled my eyes. Who? Your mirror? He smirked. No, someone better. Her name's Tawa. You'll meet her soon enough. I didn't care back then. I was exhausted from years of fighting. By the time we signed the final papers, I saw her just once, across the courtroom. Her hand brushed Bayo's when they thought no one was looking. I never thought I'd see her again, much less have her teaching my child. The next day, I walked Zara to school again. I had already planned to avoid eye contact with Tiwa, maybe even talk to the school administrator about changing classes. But as we walked through the gate, there, she was standing at the classroom door with that same warm smile. Good morning, Zara. Did you sleep well? She asked sweetly. Zara giggled and nodded. Yes, Auntie. Then Tiwa turned to me, and this time she didn't pretend. She held my gaze like she was silently asking a question. I swallowed hard. Good morning, I said, with the most neutral tone I could manage. She nodded slowly. Morning. For that brief second, everything was said without words. The silent acknowledgement, the tension, the boundary, and the unspoken history between us. That afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I called my best friend, Mimi. You won't believe who Zara's class teacher is. Who? I told her. Dead silence. Then, Jesus. Are you serious? Dead serious? No, that's a Nollywood script. That's not real life. I laughed bitterly. It's my life now. Mimi was furious on my behalf. You need to pull Zara out, or change her class. This is too messy. You don't know what kind of energy that woman might pass on to your child. I sighed. I've thought about it. But Zara loves her already. And the class, and the school. She finally feels like she belongs. It was true. Zara had struggled with making friends in her old school. She came home quiet, withdrawn, but now she was singing new songs, drawing smiley faces, and telling me stories about her day. And somehow, despite the fact that her teacher was the woman who married my ex, she was thriving. What was I supposed to do? Rip that away because of my discomfort? I didn't have an answer. All I had was an ache in my chest, and the burning realization that life was going to be a whole lot more complicated than I imagined. Some people walk into your life and leave quietly. Others exit with drama and slammed doors. But then, there are people like Tiwa, people who leave the door open, walk into a different room, and somehow end up sharing a roof with you again. This time through your child. After that silent moment at the classroom door, I tried my best to push past the discomfort. I kept my greetings polite, my expressions neutral. No eye rolls, no dramatic gasps, just quiet smiles that said, we're not friends. We're not enemies. We're just here for the same little girl. But deep down, I was spiraling. Every day I had to see her. Something inside me tensed. Was she being overly nice to Zara just to prove a point? Was she reporting things about me back to Bayo, or worse? Was she starting to form a genuine bond with my daughter? I couldn't stop the questions. Every time Zara came home with a story that started with Auntie, Tiwa said, I felt my jaw tighten. She gave me a gold star today. She told me I'm a great reader. She said I'm very polite, like my mummy. It was the last one that stung the most. Like, was she mocking me, Or was she genuinely trying? And maybe that was the hardest part to accept. Tiwa wasn't doing anything wrong. She was kind, professional, supportive. Zara liked her. The other parents liked her. Even the school admin had nothing but praise for her. But I couldn't help the wall I was building inside. A silent, invisible wall of resentment. I found myself skipping parent-teacher meets when I knew she'd be the one speaking. I started texting other mums to ask about assignments, just so I wouldn't have to message her. I was emotionally exhausted. It got so bad that at one point, I even considered hiring a nanny to start handling Zara's school pickups and drop-offs. Not because I didn't want to see my child walk into school with a smile, but because I didn't want to keep smiling through my teeth at the woman who now held hands with the man who once promised me forever. But life has a wicked sense of irony. 1. Thursday morning, I arrived at school to pick Zara early for a dentist appointment. The class was still in session. I peeked in through the small glass window on the door, and what I saw surprised me. Zara was laughing hard, her little shoulders shaking. Tiwa had drawn something silly on the board, a cartoon version of a lion with glasses. The kids were roaring with laughter, and for a moment, even I smiled. It was strange. This woman, this Tiwa, she was good at her job. She genuinely made children feel seen, heard, loved, and for the first time, I felt something other than bitterness. I felt confused. Where was the line between personal hurt and professional respect? Was it possible to draw that line and not cross it? The final blow came during a school open day. Parents were invited to sit in on classes, view their child's progress reports, and interact with the teachers. I wore my best I'm doing fine outfit, cream linen pants and a rust orange blouse. Hair neatly styled, makeup light. I walked into the classroom and found my seat. Tiwa greeted every parent with a calm professionalism that was hard to dislike. When it was my turn, she took me aside and handed me Zara's folder. She smiled. "Your daughter is brilliant. You've raised a kind and respectful child." I forced a small nod. "Thank you." Then she paused, as if debating whether to say more. "I just want you to know, I take my responsibility seriously. As her teacher, nothing else." Our eyes locked, and in that moment, I saw the truth. She wasn't trying to replace me. She wasn't trying to make things difficult. She was just trying to do her job, and maybe, in some twisted way, trying to protect Zara too. Later that evening, I sat in bed with Zara curled beside me, tracing her finger along the spine of her storybook. "Mummy," she said. Double quotes, "Yes, baby. I like Auntie Tiwa, but I love you more." "Okay," I smiled. "I know, sweetheart," and I meant it. Zara is 6, bright-eyed, endlessly curious, and wiser than her age suggests. To her, the world isn't complicated. People are either kind or mean. Food is either yummy or not today, Mummy. And teachers are magical beings who make letters, dance on whiteboards, and know how to draw cats with perfect triangle ears. She didn't see what I saw. She didn't feel what I felt. To her, Auntie Tiwa wasn't my ex-husband's new wife. She was just the woman who gave her crayons, told funny stories, and said wow every time Zara raised her hand. But of course, children always sense more than we realize. One afternoon, while Zara was coloring on the floor, she looked up and said, "Mummy, why don't you like Auntie Tiwa?" I froze. The blue crayon slipped slightly in her hand, the tip dragging across the sky she was coloring. "Why do you say that, baby?" She shrugged, still focused on her paper. "You never smile when you see her, but you smile at Zara's mum, the one who makes cake." She was talking about another classmate's mum, a baker who always brought cupcakes for PTA meetings. I tried to laugh it off. Oh no, it's not that I don't like her. Zara looked up. Then why don't you talk to her much? I sighed. It's complicated, sweetie. Zara frowned. But she's nice. She says I remind her of someone she knows. She even said, I have your eyes. That made my chest tightened up, so Tiwa had noticed. She saw my daughter and saw me. Maybe every day she stood before that class. She had to teach the child of the woman whose husband now wore her ring. And yet, she never let it show. Zara, of course, had her own thoughts on the whole situation, delivered in the hilarious honesty that only kids possess. One night at dinner, she casually asked, if Auntie Tiwa is my teacher and Daddy's wife, does that mean she can also punish me at home and in school? I nearly choked on my spoon of rice. No, darling, she's your teacher. Just your teacher. Zara looked relieved. Good, because I already get plenty of no cartoons from you. I laughed so hard I cried. Another time, she asked, can I call her stepmommy teacher? I shook my head, grinning. No, just stick to Auntie Tiwa. Let's not confuse everybody. As the weeks went by, I decided to sit down with Zara and talk, a real talk. We sat on the balcony, a gentle evening breeze rustling through the plants. I held her little hand and said, Zara, I want you to always feel safe talking to me. If anything ever makes you uncomfortable at school, you can tell me. She nodded. Okay. Even if it's something about your teacher. She tilted her head, but Auntie Tiwa is nice. I know she is, but still, just promise me, okay? She thought for a second. Okay. But can I still give her the Christmas card I made? I smiled. Of course you can. And she did. She made it. With glitter, stickers, and uneven handwriting. She drew all three of us, herself, Tiwa, and me, holding hands under a tree. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. Later, I asked if she'd like to be in one of my YouTube videos, a mother-daughter Q&A. She was thrilled. We sat down. Camera set, soft lighting in the living room, and I asked her questions. What do you love most about school? My books and my bestie. And when we play freeze dance, do you like your teacher? Yes, she says, I'm very neat. And I help others. What's something funny she said this week? She told us when she was small, she peed on a goat in the village. I burst out laughing. Then I asked gently, do you know that your teacher is also married to your dad? She nodded slowly. Yes, Daddy told me. And how do you feel about that? She thought for a moment. I think it's okay. I like that she's kind, but you're my real mummy. She's just my teacher. That moment, it was everything. Simple, honest, childlike, but deeply profound. Zara had no confusion about her loyalty, no tension, no judgment. She just accepted the situation for what it was. And maybe I had to start doing the same. There's a moment in every parent's life, especially single parents, when you realize this isn't about you anymore. It never was. It's about them, the little humans watching you, mirroring you, growing through your reactions. When I first found out Tiwa was Zara's teacher, my instinct was to run, to yank my child out of that classroom, to protect her, or maybe to protect myself. But what I've come to understand is that healing often begins where discomfort lives. And discomfort, oh, it was everywhere. Every school event felt like a stage performance. PTA meetings were now a minefield. Every good morning, Mrs. Lake, from another parent, felt like a jab, like a cruel twist of fate. But then, something shifted. It wasn't a single dramatic event. No big confrontation, no soap opera-style meltdown. Just a series of quiet realizations. One day, I watched Tiwa tie Zara's shoelace at school drop off. Another day, I saw her stop mid-lesson to help a little boy who was stammering. Then I overheard her at a school assembly, encouraging a girl who had failed math. "You're not the grade on your report card. You're a work in progress, just like me." And I felt something I hadn't expected. Respect. It didn't erase the past, it didn't undo the pain or the betrayal. But it helped me step back and ask the harder questions. Why am I holding on to anger that doesn't serve my daughter? Is my resentment helping her or hurting her? Am I co-parenting or just competing? You see, blended families are not new, but they are complex. Everyone talks about the wedding photos, the birthday celebrations, the "we're one big happy family" Instagram posts. But no one talks about the invisible tension, the quiet jealousy, the moments when you wonder if your child will call someone else mommy by accident, the fear that your child might prefer their other home over yours, the pain of smiling while someone else tucks them in on weekends you don't get to hold them. I've had all those thoughts, and I've cried, more times than I can count. But here's the truth. Zara didn't ask for this situation. She didn't choose for her parents to split. She didn't pick who would love her next. She just wants to be loved wholly, freely, without tension in the air. And that's when I realized I needed to redefine what motherhood looked like. In this new season, motherhood isn't just about having the final say. It's not about controlling who speaks to your child or who hands them. Homework.motherhood, real motherhood, is grace. It's maturity, it's choosing peace over pettiness, and co-parenting. That's an entire sermon on its own. Bayo and I have had our share of fights, but he's still Zara's father. And if he chooses to marry someone who chooses to be kind to my daughter, maybe, just maybe, I can choose to let that be. I started reading books on co-parenting, watched a few YouTube panels, even spoke to a counselor just once. But it helped, and I began to understand that what Zara needed most was unity. Even in separation, she needed to feel that her two homes weren't war zones. She needed to hear that it was okay to like her teacher, even if her teacher was married to her dad. She needed to see that I could sit across from Tiwa at a school concert and clap when she praised Zara without flinching. Because if I kept projecting bitterness, I'd only be teaching my daughter that love had limits, that peace was impossible, that forgiveness was performative. And I don't want that for her. I want her to grow up knowing that love isn't always clean, but it is worth working through. So one day, a quiet Thursday, I did something I never thought I'd do. I sent Tiwa a message. "Hi Tiwa, I just wanted to say thank you for being kind to Zara. I know our situation isn't ideal, but I respect the way you've handled it. I appreciate your professionalism. I hope we can continue to work together for Zara's sake." It took me 3 hours to hit send. When I finally did, I turned off my phone, breathed, and cried. Not because I was weak, but because I was finally free. Healing doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives in whispers, in the quiet moment when you realize you're no longer angry, just done with carrying pain like a handbag, clutching it close as part of your identity. The message I sent Tiwa, she replied the next morning. "Thank you for saying that. I've been walking on eggshells too. I never wanted to overstep. Zara is a wonderful child. You've done an amazing job. I hope we can always keep things peaceful for her." And just like that, the invisible wall between us cracked. It wasn't a full collapse. We didn't suddenly become brunch buddies, but it was a start. And in situations like this, a start is everything. Future interactions became easier, not perfect, not without effort, but easier now. When we see each other during drop-offs or at open day, there's a nod, a smile, sometimes even a short chat about Zara's spelling test, or her obsession with unicorn notebooks. She never overstepped. I Never Pretend, we're two women, bound by one precious girl, learning to breathe in the same space with grace. As for Beo, that's still a work in progress. Our communication is strictly about Zara, pickup times, holiday schedules, medical appointments. No small talk, no bitterness, no nostalgia. I've forgiven him, not because he asked, but because I no longer want to rent space in my heart to old wounds. And as strange as it sounds, I'm even grateful now. Grateful that Zara has more people in her life who care about her. Grateful that her school feels like a safe place. Grateful that Tiwa, despite everything, is teaching my daughter with kindness. And most of all, grateful for the growth that came from discomfort. What's next? Well, I'm still learning, still unlearning, still reminding myself every day that strength doesn't always look like revenge or distance. Sometimes it looks like coexistence. Started journaling again. I've joined a local mum's circle. I'm even planning a YouTube miniseries on modern co-parenting in Nigeria. Because if I went through this, someone else out there is going through it too. And if sharing my mess can give someone else a map, then maybe that's the point to every woman watching this who's had to smile through discomfort. To every mother navigating school corridors with clenched teeth and quiet grace. To every person choosing peace over pettiness. This story is for you. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. Because life, as messy and ironic as it is, always finds a way to surprise us. And sometimes, it's not the new wife or the ex-husband that's the problem. It's the unresolved pain that demands your attention. Once you face it, you realize peace was waiting for you all along.